The night my son and his wife left for their cruise, the house felt too quiet. My grandson sat on the rug, rocking back and forth as he always did, his small hands gripping the hem of his shirt. Doctors had told us he was mute since birth. I had accepted that silence as part of him, the same way I accepted his wide, observant eyes. When the door finally clicked shut and the sound echoed through the hallway, he stopped rocking. The sudden stillness made my skin prickle. Slowly, he lifted his head and looked straight at me. His gaze felt older than 8 years. Then, in a clear, steady voice that did not belong to a child who had never spoken, he whispered my name and warned me not to drink the tea his mother had made. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. My heart thudded painfully as he continued, explaining that she had planned something terrible. I laughed weakly, trying to convince myself it was a trick, but fear crept in anyway. The kettle on the stove began to whistle, and the house felt suddenly hostile. I asked him how he could speak, why he had never spoken before, but he only shook his head. He told me he could only talk when it was truly necessary. His words were careful, as if every sentence cost him something. I poured the tea into the sink, my hands trembling, and watched the steam curl upward like a warning. That night sleep never came. I sat at the kitchen table while my grandson drew strange pictures with black crayons. They showed doors without handles, shadows standing over beds, and a woman smiling while holding a cup. When I asked him about the drawings, he said they were memories. He told me his mother had whispered to him when she thought no one was listening, telling him secrets and asking him to keep quiet forever. I realized then that his silence had been a shield, not a limitation. Outside, the wind rattled the windows, and I felt the weight of something dark settling over the house. The next day, I searched the kitchen and found a small bottle hidden behind the spices. It had no label, only a faint chemical smell. My grandson watched silently as I held it up. He nodded, confirming my fear. He explained that his mother believed some people were obstacles that needed removing. I struggled to reconcile that image with the woman I thought I knew. She had always been polite, distant but respectful. My grandson told me she smiled best when no one was watching. He asked me to trust him, and I did because the fear in his eyes was real. That afternoon, a neighbor came by, and my grandson went silent again, retreating into his usual quiet. I realized then that his voice was something fragile, something dangerous for him to use. When night fell, I locked every door, unsure who I was protecting us from. Days passed, and I avoided every call from my son. Guilt gnawed at me, but fear was stronger. My grandson spoke only at night, telling me pieces of the truth. He said his mother had learned things from books she kept locked away, books about control and silence. He said she believed he was special because he could hear things others couldn't. I remembered the way she watched him, not with warmth but with calculation. One night I dreamed of the tea steaming on the table untouched, waiting. I woke to find my grandson standing beside my bed, awake and alert. He told me she was coming back early. Panic surged through me. I didn't know how to confront her, or if anyone would believe an old woman and a child who supposedly couldn't speak. I decided to record him. With my phone hidden, I asked him to tell his story again. His voice was calm, almost resigned, as if he had known this moment would come. When he finished, he fell silent, exhausted. I sent the recording to my sister, the only person I trusted completely. She replied with disbelief, then fear, then a promise to help. That evening my daughter-in-law called, her voice sweet and apologetic, saying the cruise had been cut short. I watched my grandson's face harden when he heard her voice. He wrote on a piece of paper, asking me not to let her in. My hands shook as I realized the choice I had to make could tear my family apart. They arrived just after midnight. I opened the door with my sister standing beside me, her presence giving me strength. My daughter-in-law's smile faltered when she saw her. Inside, the tension was unbearable. My grandson sat quietly, staring at the floor. When my son asked what was wrong, I played the recording. The silence afterward was devastating. My daughter-in-law laughed, then screamed, accusing us of manipulation. She lunged for my grandson, but my sister stepped in front of him. The truth spilled out in rage-filled fragments, enough to convince even my son. He backed away from his wife, horror written across his face. The police came, and the house filled with flashing lights. The bottle from the kitchen became evidence. My daughter-in-law was taken away, still shouting that she had only wanted peace. My son collapsed onto the couch, broken by betrayal. My grandson leaned against me, silent once more. In the days that followed, social workers and doctors visited. They called his voice a trauma response, something that might return or might not. I didn't care. I was just grateful he was safe. Sometimes late at night, he would look at me as if he wanted to speak, then think better of it. Life slowly found a new rhythm. My son moved back in, trying to rebuild trust and stability. My grandson remained quiet, but his drawings changed. They showed open doors, sunlight, and two figures holding hands. One evening, as I tucked him into bed, he whispered again, just once, thanking me for listening when no one else did. Tears streamed down my face as he drifted to sleep. I knew the silence might return forever, but I also knew that I would never ignore it again. Some warnings come softly, and some voices only speak when the danger is real.